What is going on, my fellow Summit Chasers, and welcome to another episode of the Summit Chasers podcast, where we make business and life success simple so that you can live extraordinary. And today is going to be no exception to that rule because we have an absolutely outstanding guest. And I'm going to be completely honest with everybody. I know for a fact now that she's outstanding because we recorded about 5 minutes before I realized that we ran out of time and it stopped recording. So I know for a fact now that she is absolutely incredible. And I can't wait for you to hear the part that she was saying when the recording cut off. But really quickly, before I give her a proper introduction, make sure you sign up for the Young Professionals Leadership Summit. That is October 19th in Toronto, Ontario. And we just got done having a really good meeting with all the people who are involved in making this event as special as it's going to be. By the time you watch this will be about 2 weeks ago now. But for the workshops that we have planned, the way that we're going to be able to challenge you and the things that you're going to be taking away from this, they are truly going to set you up for long-term success. This isn't going to be one of those conferences where you show up, listen to people talk, and you're taking notes, and then by 1 o'clock, you're wishing that the coffee bar wasn't closed already. So you can go to yplsummit.com. That is YPLSUMMIT to get your tickets. And this isn't priced like some of these conventional conferences, and they're not thousands of dollars. You don't have to break the bank. This is $60 per ticket. This is not for profit. We're actually donating any proceeds above cost to a nonprofit that is in Toronto itself. It is Parents for Education is the nonprofit. You can go look them up and support them. Otherwise, they're absolutely amazing. We love what they're doing, but it's $60 for in-person ticket. If you can't make it, I get it, especially if you're in the US. You might not want to travel to Canada in October, which I understand. You can join virtually. It's $20 for a virtual ticket, and you'll still be able to be involved in some of those workshops and case studies that we are going to be doing. So again, go to yplsummit.com, get your tickets, and get involved. It's going to be one of the best investments in yourself for the price that you can ask for, and I can promise you that. But move on to today. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with a truly inspiring guest. We have Karin Stephan, and she is a visionary leader and serial entrepreneur with over 3 decades of experience under her belt. And her passion is empowering people to reach their full potential. And we see a lot of gurus on LinkedIn that say that's their goal, but she is actually doing it. She's walking the walk as the co-founder of EarKick, which is an AI-powered companion designed to measure, assess, and improve mental health in real time. Now, Karin's journey is as diverse as it is impactful. And this first question I'm going to ask is going to show you one of these very diverse things that she does to help not just improve the people around her, but improve herself. She has degrees in music, management, psychology, and digital management. She's uniquely qualified to leverage technology for the greater good. Having spent much of her life abroad too, she loves her love for languages, outdoor sports. It really fuels what we say is one of the most important skills that you can have, which is curiosity. And she has a ton of that, especially when it comes to decoding human behavior. So whether you're a small business owner, an entrepreneur, or a leader, or just someone interested in the intersection of technology and mental health, this episode is absolutely going to be for you. So get your notebooks out and make sure you fill them up. Get a snack or something like that and get ready to be inspired by Karin's groundbreaking work, especially with some of the stuff that she is doing at EarKick, right? And actually, I'm going to give her a little bit of a shout out since she's letting me do this over again. Don't forget to download the EarKick app, rate it 5 stars, and leave a review to help others find it easy, because this is going to be something that could truly change a lot of people's lives for the better. So without further ado, welcome back to the stage, Karin.
It's still amazing to be here.
Still amazing. Okay, good. She still likes me. We're good. I really appreciate it. So before we had to redo this, I had asked you a question, and your answer was brilliant. And it's one of the things that we give you an intake form, you fill it out. One of the questions is, what's some interesting tidbits about you? And one of them really surprised me. A lot of times they're like, I'm a serial entrepreneur, or I love helping people, or something like that. But something that's pretty unique, which is you like to sleep outside. And to what I know now, is you like to sleep outside every night, unless you're traveling or something like that. Now, so for everybody else, why, and why should they do something like that?
Well, I love sleeping outside in the cold, in the heat. And the reason is that we were digging into the whole concept of deliberate or intentional discomfort. Mm-hmm. And we found out that this is actually a superpower, and that you can do it at your own pace. And so, as a founder, you need to detach from work. You need to have good sleep. And you need to let go of all the pressure that is inherent in a founder's journey. Mm-hmm. So my partner and I, we started sleeping outside. First, it was just like occasionally, always measuring, heart rate and all that. And we realized, wow, I mean, it's uncomfortable in the beginning. We only had like a little mattress and it was cold, but your heart rate drops really low and you sleep really deep. I had my whole body, like with things to measure, and my parasympathetic nervous system was working like crazy, which is what feeds your ingenuity, feeds your creativity. All that was really fully, giving away a lot while I was sleeping. And that's one part. That's the kind of the biological, neurological part. And the other part about the discomfort is that when you expose yourself to a moment that is not comfortable, you're doing different things that are important for you. First of all, you overcome your perceived limits because it's really cold sometimes outside. You still go outside. The second thing is you go towards the discomfort. You're not running away. And that is ownership that you need to fight that daily grind. And then the biggest one is in the evening, all the frustration of the day, the problems of the day, whatever, just comes to mind and doesn't let you sleep. So when you're outside, you have a different discomfort. You're cold or you're uncomfortable and you're totally in the moment and you're right in your body. And then you can let go of things much better. You don't have to numb it with social media. You don't have to kind of fall asleep in front of the TV. You're not surrounded by light. All you can do is lie there, look at the starry night, look at the moon, hear the sounds of the night, smell the smell of nature, and you're with yourself. And what it does is it grounds you, right? It grounds you, and then you look up and you see the stars that have been there for billions of years, that have seen everything, and you're such a small creature on some small planet with some very small problems in perspective, right? And it just helps you let go and say, okay, it's not going to matter in the grand scheme of things. What I'm worrying about and ruminating about is not going to matter. There's always a tomorrow. And so that helps you let go, even of the biggest frustrations or setbacks, because you're in awe of nature. And because nature is so healing, and your discomfort that you're embracing is basically also a way to say, help me. I can't do this on my own. And so before you fall asleep, which you do pretty quickly outside, because your body temperature goes down, and because you're not, there's no distraction, no phone, no light, no nothing. That is so healing. I sleep much longer outside. I sleep much deeper outside. And I'm much more aware that it's not all me and my head and I myself and I, but that there is life around me, And so we, even when there is snow, even when there's real cold, you wake up alive. You wake up this 100% alive feeling, and it just helps you in that journey. And I don't think anyone can chase a summit without running towards discomfort, because chasing a summit means you're going to be uncomfortable. So why not run towards it rather than away from it? And you get used to it. We also go into the lake, which is freezing cold all year long. And yes, it doesn't get any warmer, but your attitude changes. And you go like, I can do this. I can do this. And so I encourage everyone to try, even if it's only one night. Observe, what does it do? Look at the moon. Listen for the snow. Listen for the birds. And observe what it does to you and how much you feel alive, how much your past and your future kind of fades away and you're fully present. Yeah, that's why.
I love that. That was equally as good as the first time you explained that. Incredible. So what would be the, because this is a big thing that because I'm sure there's some business owners that are listening to this, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I kind of want to hone in on this one aspect. A lot of business owners will probably listen to that and be like, I'm already uncomfortable enough. Like, business is hard. I'm stressed out all the time, right? My investors are mad at me. My spouse is mad at me. My partner and we're at odds. The strategy's not working out. Blah blah blah. All these things are already uncomfortable enough. What would you say to them when they say that, like, I don't need to do this intentional discomfort, it's already unintentionally, I'm already unintentionally uncomfortable? What would you say to them? And then what are the innate benefits to leaning into it as opposed to always running away from it?
Well, it's so true. Business is so hard.
Mhm.
And it really, life is full of challenges. And yes, at first sight, you don't need any more tasks. You don't need any more discomfort. There's plenty, right? But the difference is that when you do intentional discomforting things, you're in the driver's seat and you choose it and you have ownership. So maybe discomfort for me is sleeping outside. Maybe for someone else, it's doing nothing,
Mhm.
or going to volunteer work. I don't know. Yeah, everyone has to decide what is their discomfort zone,
Mhm.
and then intentionally start doing a bit of it, not the whole big thing. You don't chase the tallest mountain. You go for a smaller summit first, and then you kind of get into it. That's one thing. And the other thing is, don't do it alone, right? I don't like doing things alone when they're, discomforting.
Mhm.
So there, maybe find a friend or your partner or your child, son, or your colleague, and just have that initial conversation. Say, hey, let's try that. And maybe it's crap. Okay, you go for something else. I guarantee you, it will put your other discomforts that you are not in control of into perspective. It will help you assert yourself
Mhm.
and set boundaries. You
Mhm.
can set a boundary to what pain is and what
Mhm.
discomfort is, right? Because we all know the effect of going into a really cold shower. It tips the balance from pain to reward when
Mhm.
your body reacts, and you have all these feel good chemicals, uh, in your brain and your body. Being flushed with it is a real reward. So again, you can assume ownership and say, is it the cold shower I'm going to choose, or is it going to be something else? And the more you do it, the more you can deal with discomforting situations that you did not ask for.
Mhm.
It's like a
Mhm.
muscle, right? And
Mhm.
yes, your business is probably never going to be perfect, and you're going to face so many challenges. But changing the attitude towards you're in control
Mhm.
is going to really make a difference. Also, in this feeling of being alive, of being you,
Mhm.
not of being your spouse or being your business, or being, you don't define yourself only by your success or by what
Mhm.
other people say about you. You start having this inner grounding where even in the worst situation, you go like, hey, but wait a minute, I sleep outside.
Mhm.
I shower cold. I can I've done this summit. I've done this run. All these things, and they compound. And at
Mhm.
some point, you become indestructible.
Mhm.
You become a rock for others, not just for yourself. And I bet you your business is going to profit.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's almost, I mean, I think you'd be really surprised when you do these types of things. Like, I've done the same thing when I told you beforehand, when we sold everything and started running the business out of a trailer. It was so that
Mhm.
we wanted to level up too. We wanted to prove a point. Well, selfishly, we wanted to prove a point, but it's also because we wanted to put ourselves intentionally in a uncomfortable situation so that we could grow and we could kind of flex that. Like you said, it's like a muscle, that decision making, challenge overcoming, figuring things out muscle, right? It's something that you can develop over time, and you'd be really surprised what translates. I think that's one piece of advice I'd give people. Like, whether you're going and camping and like, okay, we're going to sleep in a tent for 6 days and we're going to survive, like whatever, you're going to challenge yourself. You'd be really surprised if you pay attention, if you're intentional about it. I think that's the word of the day. And when you're intentional about it, what actually transfers over? And then you develop true, I think this is kind of what you were explaining, you develop true confidence, which is your ability to overcome and trust in yourself to overcome. Yeah.
That is so.
Is that something that you've, so where did this prompt for you? Like, where did this start for you? Did it start as, let's just go sleep outside? Or was there something, other things that you've tried beforehand to kind of, incite that intentional discomfort?
Yes, I have done many things. Like for example, my partner and I were both runners. And running is not always, you don't feel like doing it, especially when you're all in, immersed in work and stuff. But the thing is, I started running for many reasons. One of them was to manage pain, inner pain and pressure. Because funny enough, when I run, I have to focus on the now. There's no way I run and then, like your body has these reactions in your other breath and all that. So you have to be in the now. And you can't be fully in your problem. And it's like you're running away kind of from the problem, but in a good way. And once you come back, your body is ready, you have accomplished something, and you have been able to run away in a way, but not, avoiding a problem. And you come back very often, not only does the problem seem smaller, but I have, had time to listen to my body, to be in the present, and then I make room for ideas. And those ideas are very often around solutions. That's one thing. So the discomfort of running. I looked for these things as well because in difficult moments of my journey, I felt like I was either only worrying about the future or regretting what happened in the past. So I was trying to get a hold of the present. Now, when is life going to happen for me? It can't be this next thing and the next thing. And when I reach that, that's never going to happen, right? And so what's the best way to be fully present? So it has to be something exciting, or it has to be something that requires your full attention. Ideally, not just your head, but also your body. And so all type of exercise that is exhausting or hard is a good way to do that. But also to, maybe engage in a robust discussion that you'd rather not have. Yeah. Or it can be something like doing something for someone that you don't like. That's also discomfort. And for me, understanding that I'm in control has always been the game changer. When maybe the robust discussion would happen later when you are no longer in control, or maybe like you have to do things when you didn't choose to. So I better choose it and do it and get better at this. And so nowadays, in my endless curiosity, I look for small and bigger opportunities to have this deliberate discomfort, intentional discomfort. And let me also point out that going into deliberate discomfort means that you also understand how to get out of it again and how to be comfortable. To have these both sides, right? There is intentional effort and there is intentional recharging or intentional relaxing, and you have to master both sides. But the way we are wired, we tend to focus more on the intentional comfort, and kind of like sitting on the sofa, or trying to numb our feelings, our emotions, our frustrations with scrolling on social media, or digesting a lot, or binging Netflix, all these things. So as a founder, you're not going to survive the journey. You're not going to survive the roller coaster if you do not have ownership. And if you do not understand that you cannot let the journey own you. It has to be the other way around. And you have to train that resilience, because you could have the best idea on earth and the top team and whatnot. If you can't pour from your empty cup, there isn't going to be any value created. Nothing will be larger than yourself, and you're not going to be able to serve anyone, not even yourself, if you don't have that resilience, if you can't pour from a full cup.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think this is something you started to hit on too, is some of these discomfort or uncomfortable, intentionally uncomfortable activities. If we do them long enough, it's almost like comfortable discomfort. Like I'm a former professional athlete, so like working out really hard, I know that. I know that really well. I know the pain. I know how to lean into it. So I know that. And I used to lean into that. Like, okay, this is going to be my thing that I'm going to push myself on today. But it's a habit now. It's just what I do. It's almost like my homeostasis, right? So it's finding those things that maybe you're not innately good at. Yeah, this is one thing that we always say too, is like, don't afraid to be shitty at something, right? So go and like, because I loved your example, I think this is a brilliant example, is go and have that uncomfortable conversation. Ask the conversations, or, open yourself up to constructive criticism. Like that's really scary for some people. Like that is, an intentional part of intentional discomfort as well, as opening yourself up for discomfort and putting yourself out there. But it's finding those areas that you're not just, again, and this is a lot of founders and business owners too. Like we're almost like, I'm in the same boat. I've been an entrepreneur for almost 20 years now, where I'm almost comfortable in that, like not knowing. I'm comfortable in the chaos. I'm like that's my comfortable discomfort, right? Like I know that. So going into something like having like an uncomfortable conversation, or opening myself up to criticism, or I don't like running. So like running would be something where I'd have to overcome a challenge. So finding those things that you're not familiar, it's like unfamiliar intentional discomfort, right? More often than maybe not more often than that, but as often as you need to. Is that accurate? Am I on?
It is. And everyone has to define what is discomfort.
Yeah.
I know some people, and I used to be one of them, that can't do nothing. Like it's not an option. They have to do something all the time, and just sit there and breathe and be you for 5 minutes is they'd rather give themselves an electric shock, or do something that is really painful, rather than tolerate the silence, or tolerate being themselves or with themselves. So everyone has to find what is discomfort to me, and how much of that can I do deliberately to progress, and can I measure that, and can I see that this is actually benefiting me? Because don't take it from me, I could be telling you whatever, right?
Yeah.
Measure it, try it out, and see whether it does something. I had a woman just write to me, because I wrote an article on deliberate discomfort, and she said, for me, it was such a discomfort to drive to work and not listen to something, a podcast or music, just be there and just drive and be present while driving. And now she can do it. And for her, that's her portion of deliberate discomfort. And once it's easy for her, she's probably going to look for more discomfort. And she said that for her, she measured it, and she was more relaxed getting to work. And she felt more in control when the first thing that happened at work was negative. So that's how she know it works for her, right? And I did the whole measurement for the sleep, and the data was very, very clear. Sleep outside, breathe. Also, I started breathing through the nose only. Huge difference. It was running with just breathing through the nose, even sprinting, was so uncomfortable. It was such a pain, but over time you get used to it. And now I just don't want to switch, So all these things at the measurement part.
See that I've been, you might just have been the straw that broke the camel's back. So I broke my nose multiple times, so I can't breathe out of my left nostril. So, and I always say, because there's a product out there, the hostage tape, I think that's what they call it, where it's literally just tape that goes over your mouth, and then with brilliant branding and marketing, they've turned it into this thing. But it goes over your mouth, and you can't breathe through your mouth, you just breathe through your nose. And they talk about all the benefits of it and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I wish. So now I think you just convinced me to go get the surgery so I can breathe through my nose properly. But this is going to be kind of a good segue, because this is a lot of how to build resiliency. That word resiliency, I think, gets thrown around sometimes in kind of off context, because now we're kind of moving into the mental health of a lot of workers that are in corporate and these big companies, and even in some smaller companies too, where they're still getting kind of managed. The strategy is still very, we call it like classical, like it's very old school. It's like the old school management that got developed, just before the dirty 30s. What's let's say this. What is really, let's define resilience. What is resilience first? Like, what is true resilience in compared to just pushing through something that's not pushing you in the right direction, or not going to develop the outcome that you want, or pushing you in the wrong direction? What's the difference between actual resilience and this fake resilience that we kind of talk about?
This knuckle through, right?
Yeah,
Resilience in general terms, or mental readiness is something very related to it, is when you are, first of all, aware of what is happening to you. You know yourself well enough that you can make decisions about what is happening to you, within you, and around you. And resilience means that whatever life throws at you, it doesn't have to be work. It can also be, something that happens in your private life, that you feel that you have a way of dealing with it. That it's not going to overwhelm you. It's not going to define you. It's not going to destroy you. And you feel kind of this ownership. And it doesn't mean that you can, any challenge can be solved, but you feel it's an attitude. It's an inner feeling attitude that you can deal with it. Whether it's something small and it's easily done, or something big where you go like, yeah, I can do this. I know how to protect myself, but still get this done. And resilience would also mean that when you see that, for example, the situation is such that you can't solve it because maybe it's a toxic workplace.
Yeah.
And no resilience on earth is going to change that. Then resilience means that you can go and find the best solution for you. You can protect yourself. Maybe you leave the job, maybe you address it, maybe you have a robust discussion, but you do find a solution, and a solution that is not too late for you. And that doesn't only benefit the company or whoever, right? So resilience is much more than just like pushing through, because pushing through can kill you, can drive you into burnout, and can ultimately also hurt a company. Pushing through may be good at some points when you know what the goal is and whether it's worth pursuing it at that speed or at that might, right? But it's definitely negative when there is no clarity why you're doing it and what's the outcome, and is it worth it? So resilience, it has to be smart to some extent, right? Yeah. And some people are naturally more resilient than others, but everyone can learn resilience. Everyone can do that. And again, for me, it always starts with understanding what is going on with me, like what's happening to me. And then, so this is how I'm going to react. This is when, I feel anger. I feel frustration. I feel envy. Okay, why? And then start to make a plan, start to see what the response should be or can be, and where my circle of control starts and where it ends. And that's in a workplace environment is very important. Where is my responsibility? Where does it start? Where does it stop? Because not everything is your responsibility, and not everything is the company's responsibility.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I love that, because that places resiliency. It's a lot closer to, so that there's the equation, overcoming obstacle equation, which is awareness plus understanding with intention equals a strategy to overcome it, to be resilient. It sounds like that's more of an equation to resilience than, again, the old way of resilience is just like, especially for like men, it's like push it down, ignore it, just battle through it, just ignore everything and get through it, and the light at the end of the tunnel. And I liked how you kind of put it, because it made it sound like knuckling through and sucking it up and just just plowing through it is more of a short-term tactic used within resiliency than resiliency itself.
That's true. Also, it's if you're in a situation where you're in real danger, or like you're being you're being held captured or whatever, then you have to not go through. Then you have to go to the utmost limit, because then it's really dangerous, and there is no, like, oh, would I like to do this or not? No, you have to survive. But we're not always, if we behave like we're surviving day to day, something is wrong. Something is wrong with us, something is wrong with our situation, something is wrong with the company we're working at, because life is not about survival all the time. Yes, some moments, maybe there is a lot of pressure because of a project that needs, or a deadline, and that's okay. That can be survival mode, as long as it's followed by a recovery mode. And it's the same as any athlete, any elite athlete, they'll tell you recovery is more important than the effort itself, right? And it's no different for any high achiever or any high demand job. Actually, any job, being a parent, same thing. You can't always be in survival mode, because you're telling your whole system, your nervous system, that you're going to die. And no system survive that constant pressure, right? So again, deliberate discomfort is something you do in portions. It's not constant, and something that you can end too. You can start it, you can end it. And if you're in a real survival situation, you really have to survive, you really have to get out of that storm, whatever. Okay, then by all means, knuckle through, suck it up, do all that stuff, right? But it's not going to be every day, hopefully.
Yeah, while being realistic about the situation, because that's one. And there's a book that I think that you're very in line with. I'm not giving you a book assignment or anything like that, Karin, but it's called "Do Hard Things" by Steve Magnus, and he actually gave. So he was a running coach for. You seem familiar with him, but he was a running coach for a long period of time, and he studied a long time. Like, what is the difference between, especially long distance runners, the difference between the ones who were seemingly in just as good a shape as the others, but why would these ones who are just as good a shape as the ones that lost, that were hours behind them in like an ultra marathon? What's the difference? And when they asked what their mindset was during those difficult times, the ones typically that did not perform as well, and they said, when it was painful, when you wanted to quit, your feet were full of blisters, what were you thinking? They're like, I was just trying to ignore it. I was trying to go somewhere else. And then he talked to the ones who would, on average, do much better in the race. He asked them, well, what would you do? It's like, I had to pay attention to everything. If my feet hurt, I had to figure out, okay, if I run on this side of my foot, okay, if I slow down my pace a little bit, I'll be able to catch. So it's that awareness, and then leaning into it. And they were able to do that because they did that in practice. So that there goes that intentional discomfort, just practice, if you want to kind of boil it down to. At least that's what I'm getting from it. But they would practice that mindset. Okay, I get a blister on my, so it seems like my second toe for my big one. So that means I need to run a little bit differently. I need to slow down here. But that was their mindset. They would lean into those things so they could create a strategy almost to overcome it.